Have you ever said something in anger that you wished you could take back? Or maybe you let someone else's words ruin your entire day. We've all been there, caught in the heat of the moment, driven by emotions instead of reason. But what if I told you that real power, the kind that changes your life, doesn't come from reacting? It comes from not reacting. This book is about mastering the pause. It's about taking back control over your emotions, so that nothing outside of you can disturb the peace inside of you. Because when you master your reactions, you master your life. Think about it. Wars have started because of unchecked anger. Relationships have ended because of careless words. Careers have been destroyed by one impulsive decision. Reaction is expensive, but self-control is priceless. Not reacting doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're passive. In fact, it's the highest form of strength. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can lose their temper. But very few people can remain calm when everything around them is trying to shake them. That's where true power lies. In these pages, you'll learn how to identify your emotional triggers, how to create distance between stimulus and response, and how to cultivate the calm, unshakable presence that great leaders, thinkers, and wise individuals have carried for centuries. This isn't just theory. It's practical. You'll find exercises, reflections, and real-life stories that show you how to put these lessons into action. By the end of this journey, you'll notice a transformation. Fewer regrets, deeper relationships, and a stronger sense of inner peace. You'll discover that the world no longer controls you, because you control yourself. So, as you listen, I want you to keep one simple truth in mind. The most powerful person in the room isn't the loudest, the angriest, or the quickest to react. The most powerful person is the one who remains calm, collected, and in control. And now, let's begin the journey into the power of not reacting. Chapter 1. The Pause That Changes Everything. Imagine this. You're in the middle of an argument. Someone says something hurtful. Your body tenses, your heartbeat speeds up, and before you even realize it, you're ready to fire back with words you might regret. That split-second moment between hearing their words and responding, that's where your entire life can change. Most people don't realize how much power exists in that tiny pause. It feels so small, almost invisible, but it's the difference between chaos and control, between regret and wisdom, between being driven by emotion and being guided by clarity. This is where the journey of mastering your emotions begins, with the pause. Why we react so quickly. Let's start with some science. Inside your brain, there's a little almond-shaped cluster of neurons called the amygdala. Its job is survival. It's always scanning for threats, and when it senses danger, it triggers an instant reaction. Fight, flight, or freeze. This was incredibly useful for our ancestors when survival meant escaping predators. But today, the same system gets activated by modern threats. A rude email, a critical boss, a partner's sharp tone. The problem? The amygdala reacts before the rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, has time to think things through. That's why you sometimes say things you don't mean, or make choices you regret later. You didn't pause. You let the amygdala drive the car. The pause is your chance to shift control from the emotional brain to the rational brain. Even a few seconds of delay allows your prefrontal cortex to catch up and give you options. Instead of exploding, you can choose to breathe, reframe, or respond with calm strength. The hidden cost of reacting. But why is reacting so dangerous? Because reactions are usually impulsive, not intentional. Think of the last time you reacted out of anger. Did it help the situation? Or did it make things worse? Maybe you snapped at someone you love and felt guilty afterward. Maybe you sent an email too quickly and had to apologize later. Maybe you made a decision while emotional and ended up regretting it. Reaction feels powerful in the moment, but it almost always weakens you in the long run. It steals your peace, damages trust, and hands control of your life over to circumstances you can't control. The pause, on the other hand, is like an investment. You might sacrifice the temporary satisfaction of lashing out, but you gain long-term peace, respect, and clarity. The power of choosing not to react. Not reacting doesn't mean ignoring your feelings. It means giving yourself the space to choose how to respond. And that choice is where your freedom lies. Think of a martial artist. They don't attack out of panic. They wait, they observe, they anticipate. Their strength lies in restraint and timing. Similarly, emotional mastery isn't about never feeling anger, fear, or frustration. It's about not letting those feelings dictate your behavior. There's a famous quote by Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, who said, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." That space he talks about, that's the pause. And it's the foundation of emotional control. Training the pause. So how do you actually practice this? Here are a few simple but powerful techniques. Breathe before you speak. When you feel triggered, take one slow, deep breath before responding. Breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your body that calms you down. This simple act buys your brain the time it needs to shift from reaction to reflection. Count to 3. It sounds almost childish, but it works. Counting gives your brain a micro break, enough to weaken the grip of the amygdala. 3 seconds can change everything. Name the emotion. Neuroscientists call this affect labeling. When you say to yourself, "I'm feeling angry," or "I'm feeling anxious," it reduces the intensity of that emotion. By naming it, you create distance between yourself and the feeling. Ask one grounding question. Try, will this matter in a year? Or what outcome do I really want here? These questions redirect your focus from temporary feelings to long-term values. Real-life example, the email test. Think about how many disasters could be avoided with the pause. Imagine you get a frustrating email. Your first instinct is to type out a sharp reply. But instead, you close your laptop and walk away for 10 minutes. When you come back, your perspective has shifted. You might still respond firmly, but now it's clear, respectful, and effective. The difference between reacting and pausing could save your career, your reputation, and your peace of mind. The ripple effect of self-control. Here's the beautiful part. When you practice the pause, you don't just change yourself, you change the world around you. When you don't react, you break the cycle of conflict. Arguments that might have spiraled out of control fizzle before they even begin. People start to respect your calm presence. You become the steady anchor in chaotic situations. And perhaps most importantly, you start respecting yourself more. You realize you don't have to be a prisoner of your emotions. You can feel them fully, acknowledge them, and still choose wisely. From reaction to response. There's a big difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is instant, emotional, and often regrettable. Response is thoughtful, intentional, and aligned with your values. When you train yourself to pause, you shift from reaction to response. You become the kind of person who doesn't get thrown off balance by every challenge. You become the kind of person who others look to for guidance and stability. Your first practice. Let's make this practical. For the next week, choose one situation where you normally react. Maybe traffic, social media comments, or interruptions at work. Every time it happens, pause. Breathe. Count. Ask yourself, do I want to react, or do I want to respond? At first, it won't be easy. Your mind will scream at you to let the emotion out. But with practice, the pause becomes natural. And when it does, you'll notice a shift. More peace, less regret, more respect for yourself and from others. Closing thought. The pause may seem small, but it's not. It's the doorway to emotional freedom. It's the key to healthier relationships, wiser decisions, and a calmer, more powerful you. Every time you pause, you reclaim control. Every time you choose not to react, you strengthen the muscle of self-mastery. Remember this: the strongest person isn't the one who always reacts the fastest. The strongest person is the one who can stay calm long enough to choose their response. And that strength, the power of the pause, is where our journey truly begins. Chapter 2: Mastering Emotional Triggers. Think about the last time you lost your temper. Maybe it was a careless comment. Maybe it was a driver cutting you off. Maybe it was that one coworker who always seems to push your buttons. Here's the thing: people can't push buttons that don't exist. If you reacted strongly, it's because you were triggered. Emotional triggers are like invisible wires inside us. They come from our past experiences, our insecurities, and our unresolved pain. When someone or something touches that wire, emotions explode. You can't master your reactions until you first master your triggers. What are emotional triggers? A trigger is anything that sparks a strong emotional reaction that feels bigger than the situation itself. It could be a tone of voice that reminds you of being scolded as a child, a partner rolling their eyes, making you feel disrespected, a friend canceling plans, stirring up feelings of abandonment, or even something as small as being interrupted, which makes you feel invisible. The reaction isn't really about what just happened. It's about the meaning your mind attaches to it. For example, if someone ignores your message, one person might shrug it off, while another feels rejected and angry. The difference isn't the event, it's the trigger. Why triggers have so much power? Your brain is a storyteller. Every moment of your life, it collects experiences and stores them as memories. Some of these memories carry emotional weight. When something today reminds your brain of that old memory, it assumes the same threat is happening again, even if it's not. That's why criticism from your boss can feel like your parents' disappointment all over again. Or why being excluded from a group chat can feel like childhood rejection. Triggers are powerful because they pull the past into the present. They hijack your nervous system, making you react not just to this moment, but to years of accumulated emotion. Step 1. Identify your triggers. You can't master what you don't understand. The first step in mastering triggers is awareness. Here's a simple exercise. Every time you feel a strong emotion, anger, jealousy, fear, shame, pause. Ask yourself, what just happened that set this off? Write it down. Keep a trigger journal. Over time, you'll see patterns. Maybe it's authority figures. Maybe it's being ignored. Maybe it's feeling rushed. Once you see the patterns, you'll realize you aren't at the mercy of random emotions. You're reacting to predictable triggers. Step 2. Reframe the trigger. Awareness is powerful, but awareness plus reframing is transformative. Reframing means changing the story your brain tells about the trigger. For example, instead of, "My boss criticized me because I'm incompetent," reframe it as, "My boss is stressed and wants improvement. This is about the work, not my worth." Instead of, "They ignored my message because I don't matter," reframe it as, "They might be busy. It doesn't define my value." Instead of, "Traffic is ruining my day," reframe it as, "Traffic is giving me time to listen to an audiobook or practice patience." When you reframe, you take back control of the narrative. You move from victim of circumstance to master of meaning. Step 3. Create space before reacting. Triggers make us feel urgent, like we have to react right now. But urgency is often an illusion. By creating space, you give yourself time to calm down. Here are a few ways to create that space. Step away physically. Excuse yourself from the room, take a walk, or simply pause before answering. Use grounding techniques. Focus on your breath, notice 5 things around you, or put your hand on your heart to remind yourself you're safe. Delay your response. If you're triggered by a message, don't reply immediately. Wait an hour, or even a day. Remember, a delayed response is often a stronger response. Step 4. Heal the root cause. Here's the deeper truth. Mastering triggers isn't just about handling the surface reaction. It's about healing the root wound underneath. If criticism devastates you, maybe it's because you've tied your worth to perfection. If rejection crushes you, maybe it's because an old wound taught you you're not lovable. If being ignored enrages you, maybe it's because you still carry the pain of not being heard as a child. Healing means facing those wounds with compassion. Sometimes it's journaling. Sometimes it's talking with a trusted friend. Sometimes it's therapy. The more you heal, the less power those triggers have. A real-life example: the interrupted speaker. Let's take an everyday example. Imagine you're sharing an idea in a meeting, and someone interrupts you. Immediately, you feel anger bubbling. The trigger? Disrespect. The story your brain tells? They don't value me. I'm invisible. I don't matter. But what if you reframe? What if you tell yourself, maybe they're excited. Maybe they didn't realize they cut me off. This isn't proof I'm unworthy. It's a chance to calmly assert myself. Instead of snapping back, you could wait for a pause and say, I'd love to finish my thought, and then I want to hear yours. Now, you've turned a trigger into an opportunity for respect and leadership. The gift of triggers. Here's something most people miss. Triggers aren't enemies. They're teachers. Every time you're triggered, life is showing you where you still have work to do. Each trigger points to an unhealed part of yourself that's asking for attention. So instead of hating your triggers, thank them. They're guiding you toward growth. They're opportunities in disguise. Your practice for this week. Here's a challenge. For the next 7 days, notice your triggers. Write them down. Name the emotion. Reframe the story. Choose a calm response. Even if you succeed just once, you'll feel the difference. That one calm response will give you more peace than 10 angry reactions ever could. Closing thought. Mastering your triggers is not about avoiding life. It's about facing life with awareness and strength. When you know your triggers, they no longer control you. When you reframe them, they lose their sting. And when you heal the root cause, they stop defining your identity. Remember this: the world can press your buttons, but only you decide if they explode. By mastering your triggers, you master yourself. And by mastering yourself, you unlock a level of freedom, peace, and confidence that very few people ever experience. That is the true power of not reacting. Chapter 3. The Science of Emotional Control. We've all heard advice like, stay calm, don't overreact, or keep your emotions in check. But here's the truth. You can't control what you don't understand. Emotions aren't random. They follow patterns. They have a biological purpose. And when you learn the science behind them, you realize something powerful. Emotions don't control you, unless you let them. Let's explore the hidden science of emotional control so you can work with your brain and body instead of against them. The two brains in one. Inside your head, there are two systems constantly battling for control. The emotional brain, the limbic system, especially the amygdala. This is fast, automatic, and instinctive. It reacts to threats, rewards, and anything tied to survival. The rational brain, the prefrontal cortex. This is slower, deliberate, and logical. It helps you plan, weigh options, and make thoughtful choices. When you feel triggered, your emotional brain reacts first. That's why you sometimes blow up before you even realize what's happening. The rational brain lags behind, unless you train it to catch up. Emotional control is the art of giving the rational brain time to step in before the emotional brain takes over. The amygdala hijack. Have you ever felt so angry or scared that you almost didn't recognize yourself? That's called an amygdala hijack. Here's how it works. Something triggers you. The amygdala sounds the alarm, flooding your body with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart races, your muscles tighten, and your focus narrows to the threat. Your rational brain shuts down. It literally goes offline for a moment. That's why in a fight, people say things they regret. Or why in fear, people freeze or run without thinking. The amygdala has hijacked the system. The pause we talked about in Chapter 1? That's your best defense against the hijack. Just a few seconds of delay allows the prefrontal cortex to come back online and restore balance. Emotions are messengers, not masters. It's important to understand that emotions aren't the enemy. They're signals. Anger signals a boundary might have been crossed. Fear warns you of potential danger. Sadness helps you process loss. Joy motivates you to seek more of what fulfills you. The problem comes when we mistake emotions for commands. Just because you feel anger doesn't mean you have to yell. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you have to run. The signal is valid, but your response is still your choice. When you treat emotions as messengers instead of masters, you reclaim your power. The role of the body. Here's a fascinating truth. Emotions don't just live in the brain. They live in the body. Think of it. Anxiety tightens your chest. Anger heats your face and clenches your jaw. Sadness makes your shoulders heavy. Joy makes your whole body feel light. This happens because emotions trigger the autonomic nervous system, the system that controls heartbeat, breathing, and stress response. That's why techniques like deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or simply standing tall are so effective. When you calm the body, you send a signal back to the brain, "We're safe." And the emotion begins to fade. The prefrontal superpower. If the amygdala is the alarm system, the prefrontal cortex is the wise leader. It has two incredible powers when it comes to emotional control. Reappraisal, the ability to reinterpret a situation. For example, instead of thinking, "They're attacking me," you might think, "They're stressed, not personal." That shift instantly lowers emotional intensity. Impulse control, the ability to delay gratification or hold back from reacting. This is like a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. Research shows that people with stronger prefrontal activity handle stress better, make wiser decisions, and have healthier relationships. The good news? You can strengthen your prefrontal cortex through mindfulness, meditation, journaling, and even consistent reflection. The science of the pause. Now let's connect the dots. Why does the pause work so well? Because it interrupts the amygdala hijack. When you take a breath, count to 3, or step away, you give your prefrontal cortex time to re-engage. You're literally rewiring your brain to respond instead of react. Over time, your brain learns a new pattern: calm first, action second. This is called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you strengthen new pathways. You're training your brain to make self-control your default. Triggers, reactions, and the feedback loop. Here's another piece of science. Your reactions create feedback loops. If you react with anger, your body releases more stress hormones, making you even angrier. If you pause and respond calmly, your body calms down, reinforcing peace. The more often you choose calm responses, the stronger the calm loop becomes. That's why mastering emotional control isn't a one-time decision. It's a practice. Practical tools backed by science. Let's look at some tools proven by research. Mindful breathing. Just 5 minutes a day lowers cortisol and strengthens prefrontal control. Gratitude practice. Writing down 3 things you're grateful for daily rewires the brain toward positivity. Cognitive reappraisal. Deliberately changing the story you tell yourself reduces amygdala activity. Exercise. Physical activity burns off stress hormones and boosts mood-regulating neurotransmitters. Sleep. Lack of sleep increases amygdala reactivity by up to 60%. Rest is emotional control's best friend. A real-life story. The calm leader. Let's imagine two leaders. Both face a crisis at work. A major mistake threatens a big project. Leader A panics, yells at the team, and blames others. The team feels fearful and disorganized. Leader B takes a breath, pauses, and says calmly, "This is serious, but let's solve it step by step." The team feels safe, focused, and ready to act. Same situation. Different brain response. One leader let the amygdala hijack. The other leader engaged the prefrontal cortex. The difference determined not just the leader's emotional state, but the entire team's performance. Your practice for this week. Here's how to bring the science into your daily life. Notice when your body signals a strong emotion, the racing heart, the tight jaw, the shallow breath. Label the emotion, "I'm angry," "I'm anxious," or "I'm sad." Pause. Breathe deeply. Count to 3. Reframe the story. Ask, "What else could this mean?" Choose your response. With practice, this becomes second nature. You'll notice the hijacks become less frequent, and your calm state becomes your default. Closing thought. Emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about understanding how your brain and body work, and then using that knowledge to choose wisely. The science is clear. You are not a victim of your emotions. You are the conductor of them. The amygdala may sound the alarm, but the prefrontal cortex holds the baton. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Remember, emotions are powerful servants, but terrible masters. Control them, and they will guide you. Let them control you, and they will destroy you. That's the science of emotional control, and it's one of the greatest powers you'll ever learn to use. Chapter 4. Anger. The most dangerous reaction. Anger. It's the spark that can set an entire forest on fire. The emotion that can destroy trust, break bonds, and leave scars that words alone can never heal. When we think of strong emotions, anger often sits at the top. It's raw, it's loud, and it demands attention. But here's the truth. Anger is also one of the most dangerous reactions we can give in any situation. Why? Because anger blinds us. It hijacks our rational mind and pushes us into a place where we act before we think. We say things we regret. We take actions that have lasting consequences. And while the anger itself might fade in minutes or hours, the damage it causes can linger for years. Why anger feels so powerful. Let's start by understanding why anger feels so intoxicating. When you get angry, your brain releases stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. Your heartbeat quickens, your muscles tense, your breathing changes. It's your body's fight or flight system preparing you for battle. For a moment, anger gives you energy. It makes you feel strong, even unstoppable. That's why lashing out can feel satisfying in the short term. But here's the catch. This is an illusion. What feels like power is actually a loss of power. Because in that moment, you're not in control. Your anger is. Think of it this way. True strength is about choice. And anger robs you of choice. The cost of anger. Let's look at the price we pay when anger runs the show. In relationships, angry words cut deep. You can apologize later, but people rarely forget how you made them feel. One outburst can erode years of trust. In health, chronic anger is linked to high blood pressure, heart disease, weakened immunity, and even shortened lifespan. The body simply isn't designed to live in constant stress. In decision-making, anger clouds judgment. People sign contracts, send messages, or make choices in the heat of anger that they later regret, sometimes with devastating consequences. In reputation, think of leaders, public figures, or even co-workers you've seen lose their temper. One angry outburst can overshadow years of good work. Anger may feel like a momentary reaction, but its consequences ripple far beyond that moment. The hidden roots of anger. Here's something most people miss. Anger is rarely the first emotion. It's usually the second. What does that mean? It means that underneath anger there's often something else: hurt, fear, frustration, or even insecurity. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you feel disrespected, and anger shows up. When a friend ignores your message, you feel rejected, and anger shows up. When your effort goes unnoticed, you feel unappreciated, and anger shows up. Anger is often a mask. It's the bodyguard emotion, covering up what's really going on inside. The key to controlling anger is learning to look beneath it. What am I really feeling right now? What wound is being touched? Stories of anger's destruction. History is full of examples of anger leading to destruction. A leader who declares war because of an insult. A celebrity who ruins their career with one explosive interview. A couple who ends a decades-long marriage over words spoken in rage. But we don't have to look to history. We can look at our own lives. Each of us can recall a moment where anger took the wheel, and the regret that followed. Transforming anger. So, what do we do with anger? Suppressing it doesn't work. That just builds pressure until it explodes. Ignoring it doesn't work either, because unacknowledged anger often leaks out in sarcasm, bitterness, or passive aggression. The answer is transformation. Here are a few powerful strategies. Pause and breathe. The moment you feel anger rising, stop. Breathe deeply. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4. This simple practice slows down the body's stress response and gives your brain a chance to re-engage. Name the real emotion. Ask yourself, what's really going on here? Am I hurt? Am I afraid? Am I feeling disrespected? Naming the true emotion often weakens anger's grip. Create space before responding. Don't send the message right away. Don't storm into the room. Step back. Take a walk. Sleep on it if you can. Distance creates clarity. Channel the energy. Anger is energy. Redirect it. Exercise, write it down, pray, meditate. Give the energy a healthy outlet so it doesn't spill onto others. Practice empathy. Ask yourself, what might this person be going through? Often, people's actions have less to do with us and more to do with their own struggles. Seeing through this lens softens our response. The strength in choosing calm. Here's the paradox. Anger feels strong, but calm is stronger. Think of great leaders, wise teachers, or people you admire. The ones we respect most aren't the ones who explode at every provocation. They're the ones who remain calm under pressure. They command respect not by raising their voices but by raising their presence. When you choose not to react in anger, you reclaim control. You send a message, to yourself and others, that you cannot be shaken. That is real strength. A practical reflection. Let me give you a simple exercise you can start today. At the end of the day, take 5 minutes and reflect. When did I feel anger today? What triggered it? What was the emotion underneath? How did I respond, and how could I have responded differently? Do this daily, and you'll begin to see patterns. You'll notice that many of your triggers are the same. And once you see them clearly, you can prepare for them. Closing thoughts. Anger will always be a part of life. It's a natural emotion. But reacting in anger doesn't have to be. The goal isn't to never feel anger. That's impossible. The goal is to master your response to it. To pause instead of explode. To choose words instead of weapons. To respond with wisdom instead of impulse. Because in the end, it's not the anger that defines you. It's what you do with it. So remember this, anyone can get angry. But the truly powerful are those who can stay calm when anger knocks on the door. Chapter 5. The Power of the Pause. There's a moment. A tiny space between what happens to you and how you respond. Most people miss it. They rush from trigger straight into reaction, like lightning flashing across the sky. But the masters of self-control, the calm, centered individuals we admire, they live in that space. They use it. They expand it. This is the power of the pause. The gap that changes everything. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, once wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." That space, that pause, is where everything changes. Think about it. Someone insults you. Your instinct might be to snap back. But if you pause, even for 3 seconds, you give yourself time to choose a different response. You get an email that makes your blood boil. Your fingers hover over the keyboard, ready to fire off a reply. But if you pause and come back to it later, the whole tone shifts. You're tempted to make a rash decision under pressure. But the pause lets you consider the long-term consequences. The pause is the secret weapon of emotional control. Why we skip the pause. So why don't more people use it? Because our brains are wired for speed, not wisdom. The amygdala, the part of the brain that handles emotions like fear and anger, reacts almost instantly. It's designed for survival. Back in ancient times, if you saw a lion in the bushes, you didn't pause to think. You ran. But in today's world, most of our threats aren't lions. They're deadlines, disagreements, disappointments. And yet our brains still want to react fast. That's why practicing the pause feels unnatural at first. The benefits of pausing. When you deliberately create a pause, here's what happens. You regain clarity. The fog of emotion begins to clear, and you can see the situation more objectively. You reduce regret. Many mistakes are made in seconds, but avoided with just a moment's delay. You send a message. By not rushing, you signal strength. People notice when you don't bite the hook of provocation. You build trust. Others feel safer with you when they know you won't explode or react unpredictably. The science of the pause. Neuroscience backs this up. When you pause, even briefly, you activate your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thought, planning, and self-control. The pause gives your brain time to move from react to respond. It shifts control from your emotional center to your thinking center. That's why practices like mindfulness and meditation are so powerful. They train the brain to pause naturally. Over time, the gap between stimulus and response grows wider, and with it, your freedom. Practical ways to practice the pause. Let's get practical. How can you make pausing a natural habit? Count to 10. It sounds simple, even childish. But it works. When you feel triggered, silently count to 10 before you respond. Those 10 seconds can save you from 10 days of regret. Breathe intentionally. Take one deep, slow breath. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4. This calms the body and interrupts the automatic reaction. Ask a question. In your mind, ask, what's really happening here? What's the best outcome? This shifts you from emotional to rational mode. Use physical distance. If possible, step away. Walk outside. Move to another room. Sometimes physical space creates mental space. Delay your response. With messages or emails, give yourself time. Write the reply, but don't hit send until later. Chances are, you'll rewrite it with more clarity. The pause in daily life. Let's see how this plays out in real life. At work, your boss criticizes your idea in a meeting. Instead of arguing immediately, you pause. You take notes, you breathe, and later you respond thoughtfully. This not only protects your reputation but also demonstrates maturity. At home, Your child spills juice on the floor after you've just cleaned. Instead of yelling, you pause. You remind yourself they didn't do it to upset you. You respond with patience, and the moment becomes a teaching opportunity instead of a fight. In traffic, someone cuts you off. The horn and angry words are right there on your tongue. But you pause. You let it go. You protect your peace instead of giving it away to a stranger. Small pauses. Big difference. The misconception of weakness. Some people believe pausing makes you look weak, like you're avoiding conflict. But let's flip that idea. Which is harder? Blurting out the first thing that comes to mind, or holding it back? Which requires more discipline? Letting anger explode, or containing it with grace? The pause isn't weakness. It's mastery. It's the art of staying in control when everything around you is trying to pull you out of control. Building the habit. Like any skill, the pause gets stronger with practice. Start small. This week, choose one area of life. Maybe it's your conversations at work or your interactions at home. Commit to pausing before you respond. Even just 2 seconds. Notice the difference. Keep a journal if you can. Each night, write, where did I pause today? What changed because of it? Where did I miss the pause, and what can I learn from it? Over time, you'll notice something remarkable. You'll start pausing automatically. It will become second nature. Closing reflection. The power of the pause is one of the most practical tools you'll ever carry. It doesn't cost money. It doesn't require special training. All it takes is awareness. So next time life throws a challenge your way, a harsh word, a sudden shock, an unexpected trigger, remember this: you don't have to react immediately. You don't have to let emotions drive the car. Pause. Breathe. Choose. Because in that pause lies your power. Chapter 6. Building Inner Calm in a Chaotic World. The world we live in today feels louder than ever. Endless notifications, breaking news, constant opinions, crowded schedules. It's chaos everywhere we look. And when the outside world is chaotic, our inner world often follows. But here's the truth. Calm is not something you find outside of yourself. Calm is something you build within. And once you cultivate that inner calm, no storm outside can shake it. The storm versus the center. Picture a hurricane. Around the edges, there's destruction. Fierce winds, flying debris, relentless noise. But at the center of that hurricane, there's a quiet place, the eye of the storm. Still, clear, calm. Life will always have storms. But you can choose to live from the center instead of the chaos. That's what building inner calm is all about. Why calm feels so hard. If calm is so powerful, why do so few people have it? Because calm doesn't come naturally in a world designed to grab your attention and stir your emotions. News outlets thrive on outrage. Social media thrives on comparison. Work thrives on urgency. Our own minds thrive on worry. If you don't consciously build calm, the chaos will build stress for you. That's why inner calm is not a luxury. It's a discipline. The benefits of inner calm. Before we dive into how to build it, let's pause to see why it matters. Clearer thinking. A calm mind sees solutions where a chaotic mind sees only problems. Stronger relationships. Calm people don't escalate conflict, they diffuse it. Others feel safe around them. Better health. Calm reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, and improves sleep. Resilience. When life shakes you, calm helps you bounce back faster. Calm is not passive. Calm is active strength. Practical ways to build inner calm. So how do we build this inner calm in a noisy, chaotic world? Here are some powerful tools. 1. Master your morning. How you begin your day sets the tone. If the first thing you do is scroll through your phone, you're already inviting chaos in. Instead, start with silence. Even 5 minutes of quiet breathing, journaling, or prayer creates a calm foundation. Move your body. Stretch, walk, or do light exercise. Physical calm supports mental calm. Set intentions. Ask, what kind of energy do I want to carry today? 2. Guard your inputs. Your mind is like a container. Whatever you put in overflows out. Limit how often you check the news. Unfollow accounts that stir negativity. Surround yourself with voices that inspire, not drain. When you're intentional about what enters your mind, calm has room to grow. 3. Practice presence. Chaos often comes from living everywhere except the present moment. We worry about the future, replay the past, and forget to actually live now. Try this simple practice. At any point in your day, pause and notice your breath, the sounds around you, the weight of your body on the chair. Even 30 seconds of presence grounds you back in calm. 4. Simplify where you can. Clutter, physical, digital, or mental, creates chaos. Declutter your environment. A clean space fosters a calm mind. Declutter your commitments. Say no more often. Protect your energy. Declutter your thoughts. Write down worries instead of replaying them endlessly. Simplicity is the soil where calm grows. 5. Anchor in gratitude. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to shift from stress to calm. When you focus on what you have instead of what you lack, chaos loses its grip. Try this. Each night, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Over time, this rewires your brain to see calm instead of crisis. Calm in the midst of conflict. Let's talk about one of the hardest places to stay calm: conflict. When someone yells at you, criticizes you, or provokes you, your instinct is to match their energy. But here's the paradox. Calm in conflict is disarming. If someone raises their voice and you keep yours steady, they often soften. If someone throws negativity and you respond with composure, the fire runs out of fuel. If you stay calm, you not only protect yourself but also create a chance for resolution. Calm is contagious. When you carry it, others feel it too. The inner practice. Inner calm doesn't just appear in the moment you need it. It's built through consistent practice. Meditation strengthens your mind's ability to return to calm. Breathing exercises calm the body instantly. Mindful walks connect you to nature's rhythm, reminding you of peace beyond the noise. These are not escapes from the world. They're training for the world. The more you practice calm daily, the more naturally it shows up when chaos arrives. Stories of calm in chaos. History shows us the power of calm leaders. Gandhi, leading India's independence through nonviolence, stood calm against oppression. Nelson Mandela, after 27 years in prison, emerged without bitterness, carrying calm dignity that inspired a nation. These examples remind us, calm doesn't ignore chaos. Calm faces chaos without becoming it. A daily ritual for calm. Here's a simple ritual you can try. Morning. Start with silence, even 2 minutes of still breathing. Midday. Take a 5-minute calm break. Step away from screens. Breathe. Reset. Evening. Reflect on 3 things you're grateful for and release any tension before bed. Simple practices. Big results. Closing reflection. The world will always be chaotic. That's beyond our control. But the calm we build inside, that's entirely within our control. Remember, calm is not about escaping life. It's about showing up fully present, fully strong, and fully steady, no matter what life throws at you. So when the noise of the world rises, don't get swept into the storm. Instead, return to your center, your inner calm, because that's where your true power lives. Chapter 7. Detachment, the art of letting go. There's a quiet strength that comes when you learn to let go. Most of our suffering doesn't come from what happens. It comes from how tightly we hold on. We cling to expectations, to outcomes, to other people's approval, to old hurts, to fears of what might come. And the tighter we hold, the more we suffer. Detachment isn't about becoming cold or uncaring. It's about freedom. It's about learning to release what you cannot control, so you can live with peace instead of pressure. What detachment really means. Let's clear up a common misconception. Detachment does not mean indifference. It does not mean you stop loving or stop caring. True detachment means you can love fully without needing to control. You can work hard without obsessing over the outcome. You can face loss without losing yourself. Detachment is not lack of passion. It's passion without chains. Why we struggle to let go. Our brains are wired to hold on. Evolution trained us to cling to what feels safe, whether it's relationships, possessions, or beliefs. Letting go feels like risk, like loss. But here's the irony. By clinging too tightly, we actually create more suffering. Think of a rope burn. The tighter you grip when the rope is pulled, the more pain you cause yourself. Sometimes the only way to stop the pain is to release your grip. The burdens we carry. Let's reflect on a few things people often hold on to too tightly. Expectations of others. We expect people to treat us a certain way. When they don't, we feel crushed. But detachment reminds us, you cannot control someone else's choices, only your response. Past hurts. We replay old betrayals, mistakes, and regrets. But the past is gone. The more we cling, the more it poisons our present. Outcomes. We work hard, but we also worry endlessly about results. Did I do enough? What if it fails? Detachment says, do your best, then let go of the outcome. Control itself. Many of us try to control life, but life is bigger than us. Detachment is surrendering the illusion of control and choosing trust instead. The freedom of letting go. When you release what you cannot control, something powerful happens. Your mind clears. Your relationships breathe. Your body relaxes. Your spirit feels light again. Detachment brings you back to what you can control. Your effort, your choices, your inner state. How to practice detachment. So how do we actually practice the art of letting go? Here are some powerful steps. 1. Awareness of attachment. The first step is to notice, what am I holding on to too tightly? Is it a relationship where you're always afraid to lose the person? Is it an outcome where you can't stop worrying about success or failure? Is it an old hurt you replay in your mind? Awareness gives you the choice to loosen your grip. 2. Shift from control to influence. Ask yourself, is this within my control or just my influence? You can influence how others see you, but you can't control their opinion. You can influence whether your work is excellent, but you can't control every outcome. You can influence your health with good habits, but you can't control every illness. Detach from control. Focus on influence. 3. The power of surrender. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting the flow of life. It means saying, I will do my best, and I release the rest. This simple act reduces anxiety and makes space for peace. 4. Practice non-attachment daily. You don't need huge life events to practice detachment. You can practice every day. When someone cuts you off in traffic, let go of the anger. When your plan changes, let go of control. When a conversation doesn't go perfectly, let go of replaying it in your head. Small acts of letting go build the muscle of detachment. 5. Anchor in the present. Attachment often pulls us into the past or future. Detachment pulls us back to now. You can't change yesterday. You can't control tomorrow. But you can breathe, think, and act today. Presence is the heart of letting go. Detachment in relationships. This is one of the hardest areas, and the most transformative. Detachment in love means loving without possession, supporting without controlling, allowing others to grow without forcing your plan on them. It's saying, I care deeply for you, but I don't own you. I love you, but I release you to be who you are. Ironically, this kind of love is stronger. People feel safer when they're not being controlled. Detachment from the past. Many of us carry ghosts of the past, old arguments, old regrets, old pain. Detachment means thanking the past for its lessons, then releasing it so it doesn't steal your present. Here's a practice. Imagine holding a heavy bag filled with stones. Each stone is a regret, a hurt, a mistake. Feel the weight. Now imagine setting that bag down. That's what letting go feels like. Stories of detachment. Think of the great spiritual teachers across traditions. The Buddha taught non-attachment as the key to ending suffering. Jesus spoke of releasing worry about tomorrow, trusting in faith. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, practiced detachment from outcomes, focusing only on their duty. Across cultures and centuries, the wisdom is the same. Peace comes when you stop clinging. A simple mantra. Here's a mantra you can carry. I release what I cannot control. I keep what is mine to carry. Repeat it when your mind wants to grip too tightly. Let it remind you, freedom is in release. Closing reflection. Detachment is not the absence of love. It's the purest form of love, love without chains, without fear, without control. When you let go, you don't lose. You gain space. You gain peace. You gain freedom. So the next time you feel yourself clinging, gripping, or forcing, remember this. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is not to hold tighter, but to let go. Because in letting go, you discover that peace was never outside you. It was always within. Chapter 8. Resilience, bouncing back without reacting. Life will knock you down. That's not a possibility. It's a guarantee. The question isn't whether you'll face challenges. The real question is, how will you respond? Some people break at the first sign of struggle. Others bounce back even stronger. The difference between the two is resilience, the ability to bend without breaking, to fall without shattering, and to rise again with greater wisdom. And here's the key. True resilience is not about reacting wildly to problems. It's about steady persistence, calm strength, and quiet determination. It's the ability to meet life's storms without letting them destroy your inner peace. The nature of resilience. Think about a tree in the middle of a storm. A weak tree snaps because it resists the wind. But a strong tree bends, sways, and then returns to standing tall once the storm has passed. That is resilience. Resilience doesn't mean you never feel pain. It doesn't mean you don't struggle. It means you don't let the struggle define you. You don't allow setbacks to control your emotional state. Many people believe resilience is about toughness, pushing through no matter what. But in reality, it's more about flexibility. The ability to adapt without falling apart. The ability to pause, breathe, and then decide how to move forward without reacting in panic. Why emotional reactions break resilience? When life gets hard, our natural instinct is to react. Maybe with frustration, maybe with despair, maybe with anger. But here's the problem. Those reactions often drain the very energy we need to recover. Imagine failing at something important. Maybe a business venture, an exam, or even a relationship. If your first reaction is self-blame, anger, or hopelessness, you've already added more weight to the burden. Instead of bouncing back, you dig yourself deeper. Resilient people respond differently. They acknowledge the pain, but they don't dwell in it. They feel the disappointment, but they don't let it control them. They pause, they breathe, and then they ask, what's my next step forward? The 3 pillars of resilience. Let's break resilience down into 3 powerful pillars: perspective, adaptability, and persistence. 1. Perspective. Resilient people know that setbacks aren't permanent. They see challenges as part of the bigger picture, not the whole story. For example, when Thomas Edison's laboratory burned down, destroying years of work, he didn't react with despair. Instead, he said, "Now we can start fresh." That perspective fueled his comeback. 2. Adaptability. Life rarely goes exactly as planned. Resilient people don't fight reality, they adjust to it. They pivot, they find another way, and they don't waste energy clinging to how things should have been. 3. Persistence. Resilience isn't a single act, it's the willingness to keep going day after day. It's about consistent small steps, even when the road is hard. It's knowing that progress is built in inches, not leaps. Practical ways to build resilience without reacting. So how do you strengthen your resilience? Here are a few practices you can begin today. Reframe the story. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Every hardship carries a lesson if you're willing to look for it. Practice emotional first aid. When something goes wrong, don't let your first reaction be panic. Breathe. Take a walk. Journal your feelings. Give yourself space before deciding your next step. Develop a support system. Resilience grows in community. Share your struggles with people you trust. Not to complain endlessly, but to gain perspective and strength. Focus on what you can control. Resilient people don't waste energy fighting the uncontrollable. They put their focus on actions they can take today. Daily practices of strength, meditation, gratitude journaling, prayer, exercise. These practices build inner reserves of calm. When storms hit, you'll have the inner strength to handle them. The resilient mindset. At the heart of resilience is a mindset. The belief that no matter what happens, you are not defined by a single failure, a single rejection, or a single setback. You are bigger than your worst day. The resilient mindset says, "This is hard, but it's not the end. I may bend, but I will not break. I can choose my response, even when I cannot choose my circumstances." And that's where resilience and emotional control meet. Because bouncing back is not about denying your pain, it's about refusing to let your pain decide your future. Stories of resilience. Consider Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years in prison. Many would have reacted with bitterness, anger, and hatred. But Mandela chose resilience. When he was released, he didn't allow anger to control him. Instead, he became a symbol of forgiveness and strength, leading his country toward healing instead of division. Or think of Malala Yousafzai. After being shot for simply seeking education, she could have reacted with fear or silence. Instead, she rose with resilience and became a global voice for change. These stories remind us, resilience isn't about never falling. It's about rising with dignity, without letting reactionary emotions lead us astray. Resilience in everyday life. Resilience doesn't just apply to big, dramatic events. It's in the small, daily struggles too. When someone insults you, resilience means not reacting with anger, but calmly deciding how to respond. When plans fall apart, resilience means not sinking into frustration, but adapting with grace. When life feels overwhelming, resilience means taking one step at a time instead of reacting with panic. Every small choice to stay steady builds your resilience muscle. Final reflection. Resilience is not about avoiding the storm. It's about becoming the kind of person who can withstand it and even grow through it. It's about the quiet power of choosing calm over chaos, persistence over panic, wisdom over reaction. Remember this truth: you are stronger than you think. Your ability to bounce back doesn't come from reacting to every setback, it comes from rising above them. So, the next time life knocks you down, don't ask, "Why did this happen to me?" Instead, tell yourself, "This is my chance to rise. This is my chance to build strength. This is my chance to practice resilience." Because in the end, resilience is not just about surviving. It's about thriving. And that, my friend, is the true power of not reacting. Chapter 9. Emotional Intelligence in Action. Emotional intelligence. You've probably heard the term before. It's been called one of the most important skills for success in relationships, leadership, and life. But what does it really mean? And more importantly, how do you use it every single day? In this chapter, we'll bring emotional intelligence down from theory into practice, into your conversations, your work, your family, your friendships. Because emotional intelligence isn't just something you know. It's something you live. What emotional intelligence really is. At its core, emotional intelligence, or EQ, is the ability to understand emotions, manage emotions, and use emotions wisely. It has 4 main parts. Self-awareness, knowing your own emotional state. Self-management, controlling your reactions and channeling emotions productively. Social awareness, understanding the emotions of others. Relationship management, using that understanding to build stronger, healthier connections. In other words, EQ is both an inner skill and an outer skill. It's about knowing yourself and understanding others. Why EQ matters more than IQ. Here's something interesting. Research shows that high EQ often matters more than high IQ when it comes to success. Think about it. Imagine a brilliant person who constantly lashes out in anger, interrupts people, or can't handle stress. Their intelligence won't matter if nobody wants to work with them. Now imagine someone who isn't the smartest in the room, but they know how to listen, stay calm, and handle conflict gracefully. That person often rises higher, builds stronger relationships, and gains trust more easily. EQ is the invisible advantage, the quiet power behind lasting influence. EQ in action. Everyday scenarios. So how does emotional intelligence actually play out in life? Let's look at some examples. At work. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone criticizes your idea. Low EQ would lead to defensiveness, snapping back, shutting down, or holding a grudge. High EQ pauses, listens, and responds thoughtfully. You might say, "I see your concern. Can you share more about what you'd change?" That response turns conflict into collaboration. At home. Your partner comes home upset after a long day. Low EQ ignores their emotions or makes it about you. High EQ notices their tone, their body language, and asks, "Rough day? Want to talk about it?" That moment of empathy builds closeness instead of distance. In friendships, your friend cancels plans last minute. Low EQ reacts with annoyance. High EQ considers they may be overwhelmed and asks with kindness, "Everything okay?" That simple check-in deepens the bond instead of weakening it. Do you see the pattern? EQ is about shifting from reacting emotionally to responding intentionally. The link between EQ and not reacting. Here's where it ties back to our bigger theme, the power of not reacting. Without emotional intelligence, we're ruled by impulses. We speak without thinking, assume without asking, and judge without understanding. But with EQ, we gain space. Space to recognize our triggers. Space to interpret others' emotions instead of misreading them. Space to choose our response instead of reacting automatically. In short, emotional intelligence is the practical skill set that makes not reacting possible. Practical skills to strengthen EQ. Let's explore some tools you can use to put emotional intelligence into action. 1. The pause and name technique. When you feel an emotion rising, pause and name it. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling frustrated. The simple act of naming gives you distance from the emotion and helps you manage it. 2. Active listening. When someone is speaking, don't just wait for your turn to talk. Really listen. Reflect back what you hear. It sounds like you're worried about this project. That shows empathy and builds trust. 3. Perspective taking. Ask yourself, how might this person be feeling right now? What might they need? Shifting focus from yourself to the other person helps you respond with compassion instead of defensiveness. 4. Breathing before responding. Never underestimate the power of 3 deep breaths. They calm your body, clear your mind, and prevent reactive words you'll regret later. 5. Responding with curiosity. Instead of reacting with anger or assumptions, ask questions. Can you help me understand what you meant? Curiosity diffuses tension and leads to deeper understanding. The ripple effect of EQ. When you practice emotional intelligence, it doesn't just change you. It changes the people around you. Your workplace becomes calmer because you model self-control. Your family feels more understood because you listen deeply. Your friendships grow stronger because you show empathy. EQ creates a ripple effect. One person's calm, thoughtful response can shift the entire tone of a room. Stories of EQ in action. History gives us powerful examples of emotional intelligence at work. Think of Abraham Lincoln. He was famous for writing hot letters of anger he never sent. Instead, he vented on paper, then waited until his emotions cooled before responding. That practice showed remarkable EQ and preserved relationships during some of America's most divided years. Or look at Oprah Winfrey. Her interviews are masterclasses in EQ. She listens deeply, mirrors emotions, and asks the right questions. That ability to connect with people is why she became one of the most influential communicators in the world. EQ exercises you can try today. Here are a few simple practices to bring EQ into your daily life. The daily check-in each morning. Ask yourself, what am I feeling today? This builds self-awareness. Empathy practice. When interacting with others, silently ask, what are they feeling right now? This builds social awareness. Pause challenge. Before responding to criticism, take a deep breath and count to 3. This builds self-management. Gratitude reflection. End each day by writing 3 things you're grateful for. Gratitude strengthens emotional balance. Final reflection. Emotional intelligence is not about being soft. It's about being strong in the right way. It's about using your emotions as tools, not weapons. It's about building bridges instead of walls. Remember, people won't always remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. Emotional intelligence ensures that what they remember is your calm, your kindness, and your wisdom. So as you move forward, practice EQ in action. Pause. Listen. Understand. Respond. That's how you build deeper connections. That's how you earn respect. And that's how you live the power of not reacting in its truest form. Chapter 10. The Calm Leader. Influence without reacting. Leadership is not about titles. It's not about who shouts the loudest or who commands the most fear. Real leadership is about influence, the ability to inspire, guide, and move people forward. And here's the truth. The most powerful leaders in history weren't the ones who reacted impulsively. They were the ones who stayed calm in the middle of chaos, who made clear decisions when others were ruled by fear, who influenced not with noise, but with presence. This chapter is about that kind of leadership, the leadership that grows out of emotional control. The calm leader. Why calmness is a superpower in leadership. Picture this: a team faces a crisis. Deadlines are missed, pressure is high, and everyone is panicking. Now imagine the leader walks in, calm, composed, and steady. Immediately, the energy shifts. People breathe easier. Panic quiets down. Why? Because emotions are contagious. When a leader reacts with stress or anger, that emotion spreads like wildfire. But when a leader chooses calm, that calm becomes a stabilizing force for everyone else. Calmness communicates strength. It says, no matter what happens, we will handle this. That's the kind of presence people trust. That's the kind of presence people follow. The myth of loud leadership. Many people still believe leadership means being aggressive, dominating, or always having the final word. But history tells a different story. Mahatma Gandhi led a revolution not with violence or rage, but with calm determination. Martin Luther King Jr. moved millions not through shouting, but through steady conviction and the power of his presence. Even in business, leaders like Warren Buffett are admired not for flashy outbursts, but for their steady patience and long-term vision. The myth says power comes from reaction. The truth is power comes from restraint. Calm leadership in action. Let's explore how calm leadership looks in everyday situations. 1. In crisis. When things go wrong, a reactive leader blames, yells, or makes rash decisions. A calm leader pauses, gathers facts, and guides the team step by step. The result? Solutions instead of chaos. 2. In conflict. When tensions rise between team members, a reactive leader picks sides or escalates the fight. A calm leader listens to both perspectives, creates space for dialogue, and finds common ground. 3. In vision. Reactive leaders chase trends, jumping from one shiny idea to another. Calm leaders hold steady to their vision, guiding others with clarity and consistency. The qualities of a calm leader. So, what makes a calm leader? There are 4 key qualities. Presence. They show up fully in the moment, not distracted or rushed. People feel heard and valued. Patience. They don't react immediately. They give situations and people the time they need. Clarity. They cut through confusion with simple, steady direction. Empathy. They see the emotions of others without being consumed by them. Together, these qualities create influence that lasts far longer than fear or force ever could. Practical ways to lead calmly. Now, let's talk about how you can practice calm leadership in your own life, whether you're leading a company, a team, a family, or even just yourself. Pause before decisions. Don't rush under pressure. Even a short pause creates clarity. Lower your voice. Instead of raising your tone in conflict, lower it. Calm speech draws more attention than shouting. Choose presence over multitasking. When you speak to someone, give them your full attention. That presence is rare and powerful. Model composure. People copy their leaders. If you stay calm in difficulty, others will follow your example. Communicate vision steadily. Remind people where you're going and why, especially in hard times. Calm consistency builds trust. Stories of calm leadership. Let's revisit history for a moment. During World War II, Winston Churchill led Britain through its darkest hours. Bombs rained over London. Fear was everywhere. Yet Churchill's calm voice on the radio reassured millions, "We shall never surrender." His calm presence gave courage to an entire nation. Or take modern times. During the 2008 financial crisis, many leaders panicked, selling everything in fear. Warren Buffett, however, remained calm. He looked for opportunities while others reacted in chaos. His steady hand not only saved his company billions but also became an example of resilience for investors worldwide. These leaders remind us, calm doesn't mean passive. Calm means clear, steady, and effective. The challenge of ego in leadership. One of the biggest obstacles to calm leadership is ego. Ego wants to react, to prove a point, to win every argument. But calm leadership means putting the mission above the ego. A reactive leader thinks, "I have to be right." A calm leader thinks, "What's right for the bigger picture?" Letting go of ego creates space for wiser decisions. And it builds respect, because people see you are leading for them, not for yourself. Calm leadership in everyday life. You don't have to be a president or CEO to practice calm leadership. It shows up in small, daily ways. A parent staying calm when their child throws a tantrum. A friend listening instead of reacting during an argument. A manager who guides their team with patience instead of panic. Every time you choose calm over reaction, you are leading by example. And leadership at its core is influence by example. Final reflection. The world doesn't need more leaders who shout. It doesn't need more leaders who react with anger or fear. It needs leaders who are calm in the storm, steady in uncertainty, and clear in vision. Remember this truth: the calmest person in the room often becomes the leader in the room. Because calm creates trust. Calm inspires confidence. Calm influences without force. So, as you move forward, ask yourself, am I reacting like everyone else, or am I leading with calm? Because true influence doesn't come from reacting. It comes from rising above reaction and guiding others with steady strength. That is the essence of the calm leader. And that is one of the greatest powers you can ever develop. Conclusion: the power of not reacting. As we reach the end of this journey, let's pause together. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. And notice this moment: calm, still, and clear. Because this is where true power lives. Not in reaction. Not in the storm of emotion. But in the quiet choice to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. Throughout this audiobook, we've explored many dimensions of emotional control. We began by uncovering the hidden cost of overreacting, how it damages our peace, our relationships, and even our health. We learned to identify our emotional triggers and to master the pause, that powerful moment between stimulus and response. We explored the science of the brain and body, discovering how emotions rise and how we can redirect them. We talked about anger, the most dangerous reaction, and how to transform it before it takes control. We practiced building inner calm in a chaotic world, cultivating detachment, resilience, and emotional intelligence. And finally, we saw how calmness is not just personal, it is leadership. The calm leader influences not by force, but by presence. The thread that connects it all. If there's one thread running through every chapter, it's this: you always have a choice. You cannot always choose what happens to you. But you can always choose how you respond. That choice is where your freedom lies. That choice is where your strength grows. That choice is where you stop being a slave to emotion and start becoming the master of it. When you don't react, you create space. Space to think. Space to breathe. Space to choose the higher road. And in that space, you discover your true power. A life of calm strength. Imagine living a life where you are no longer controlled by every mood swing or outside event. Imagine being the calm in the storm for your family, your friends, your colleagues. Imagine making decisions with clarity instead of confusion. That life is possible. It doesn't mean you never feel emotions. It means emotions no longer rule you. They serve you. They become signals instead of shackles. This is the gift of not reacting. It is the gift of calm strength. Practical wisdom to carry forward. As you move on from this audiobook, here are 3 guiding practices to keep with you. Pause before you respond. Even a single breath can change the direction of a conversation, a conflict, or a day. Ask yourself, will this matter tomorrow? Most things we react to are temporary. Calm leaders see the bigger picture. Choose presence over reaction. Show up fully, listen deeply, and respond intentionally. Presence is more powerful than any outburst. Your quiet power. The world is noisy. People react constantly, to headlines, to social media, to each other. But you now know a deeper truth. Real power is quiet. Real power is calm. When you practice the power of not reacting, you not only change your own life, you become a model for others. Your calm becomes contagious. Your steadiness inspires trust. Your presence becomes influence. And step by step, moment by moment, you create a life of resilience, clarity, and peace. Final words. So let me leave you with this. The next time you are triggered, pause. The next time anger rises, breathe. The next time chaos surrounds you, choose calm. Because the most powerful person in the room is not the one who reacts. It is the one who doesn't. That power is now in your hands. Use it well. Live it daily. And let your calm presence be the quiet strength that changes not only your life, but the world around you.